So what if you could buy back a legendary piece of music history? Think the Public Enemy catalog, without ever stepping foot in a bank. Well, today, we're going to break down a pretty radical $30 million blueprint that's designed to do exactly that. This is the story of how a group called the Inner City Nerds is planning to make that idea a reality. And trust me, this is about way more than just money. It's about a fundamental shift in power, back to the creators.
The entire philosophy behind this plan is captured in this one motto: smart is the new street. So what does that even mean? It's about a shift from pure street hustle to real, tangible ownership. It's about taking the sophisticated financial and legal tools that have traditionally been used by the establishment and using them to build generational wealth and take back control of your own cultural legacy.
And here's the core problem they're trying to solve. You have a priceless piece of cultural history, Public Enemy's music, and it's basically just sitting on a corporate balance sheet. It's not being treated like the living, breathing art that it is. Instead, it's just a line item, a static, passive asset that's just being managed for profit.
So the mission is clear: a $30 million buyout to take that asset and turn it back into a source of wealth for the people who actually created it. But how on earth do you raise that kind of capital without taking on a mountain of debt from a bank? Well, the answer is pretty incredible. It involves a tiny bit of gold and a whole lot of very clever legal engineering.
All right, let's get into the mechanics of this thing. We're talking about the financial engine. This model is specifically designed to sidestep traditional debt completely. Instead, it's built on a concept called sound money, all happening within a system known as the Justice Fund Exchange, or JFE.
The whole thing really hinges on what's called a special valuation model. The easiest way to think about it is like this. You take a really valuable physical object, you put it inside a high-security legal and fiduciary trust, and then, using the rules of that trust, you unlock its value as a credit instrument. It's a way of creating capital, not from debt, but from the potential of an asset you already hold. And believe it or not, it all starts with this. This small but incredibly powerful asset, this is a $10 Utah Goldback. And it's not some novelty item. It's actual, legally recognized money in Utah, because it contains a tiny but verifiable amount of pure gold. This little piece of tangible wealth is the launchpad for the entire $30 million operation.
Okay, now this is where things get really interesting. Inside the system's secure legal trust, that physical $10 Goldback note is legally revalued as a $100,000 digital credit instrument. Now you're probably thinking, how is that even possible? It's not magic. The trust treats the Goldback as a unique key that unlocks a pre-approved line of credit. The value isn't just in the gold itself. It's in what that gold represents inside this specific, legally binding system. It's the key to a vault, and that vault holds $100,000 of credit.
So from there, the math to get to $30 million is actually pretty straightforward. You take 300 of these Goldback keys. Each one unlocks $100,000 in credit. 300 times 100,000, that gets you exactly $30 million. This credit is then officially designated as a standard debt obligation, which is just a formal IOU. And the whole thing is made legally binding when a fiduciary notarizes an affidavit of intent, which is basically a sworn legal statement saying, yep, this is the plan and we're going to execute it.
Okay, so we've got the $30 million in funding lined up, but you can't just hand over a check. First, the ownership of that music catalog has to be made legally bulletproof for the digital world, and this is where the high-tech lawyering comes into play.
The end goal here is to create something called a perfected digital chain of title. Think of it as the ultimate, unbreakable digital deed for the music catalog, one that's not just on paper, but is legally recognized and permanently recorded on the blockchain.
And this diagram here illustrates brilliantly how it's done. This data translation pipeline is basically a legal assembly line. It's designed to take all those old physical paper contracts and step by step transform them into a modern, unchangeable, and globally enforceable smart contract.
So let's break down how this legal assembly line actually works. In Phase 1, a system called Affinet authenticates all the old paper contracts and files a legal claim, that's the UCC1, to officially secure the rights. Then, in Phase 2, a compliance group called CCG validates all that data and gets the artists' digital wallets ready for the payout. And finally, in Phase 3, a special civil law notary gives everything a deep review, which grants the new digital ownership a presumption of validity in over 160 countries. It's a huge deal.
So what you really have are three specialized groups working in perfect sync. You've got RSI handling that final global legal stamp of approval. You have CCG making sure every piece of data is compliant and by the book. And you have Affinet acting as the fiduciary managing the assets.
Together, they create this fortress of legal and technical security around the entire acquisition.
So, the funding is locked in and the asset's title is legally perfect. Now for the most important part. How do the legends like Public Enemy actually receive their $30 million payout? The answer is in a really elegant dual token system.
This system uses what's called a dual token architecture, and it's a very clever way to separate the legal proof of the deal from the actual liquid money. This separation ensures total security and clarity at every single step of the settlement process.
Here's how it works. First, the artists get a JFE claim NFT. You can think of this as the digital deed to the house. It is the legally notarized proof that they are owed $30 million. Then, they receive the JFE coin. This is the actual cash. This is the money in the bank account, ready to be used. So one token proves your legal right, and the other one delivers the actual wealth. Simple and secure.
And here's the final crucial piece of the whole puzzle. The artists have what's called a sound money exit. This means they have the option to convert their payout right back into those physical gold backs we saw at the beginning. Their wealth isn't just trapped in digital coins. They can hold it in a tangible, gold-backed asset that's designed to protect their money from depreciation for the long haul.
But look, buying the catalog back is only half the battle. The real long-term goal is to turn it into an engine for the artist's future, to create a system where their art automatically generates wealth for them, basically forever.
So how do they pull that off? The catalog is transformed from just a passive asset into an active, intelligent one that automatically manages and distributes its own revenue. The technical term for this is a tokenized performance obligation, or TPO for short.
And this is all powered by smart contracts that have the royalty splits programmed right into their code. The result is something called atomic settlement, which means the instant a song gets streamed and earns money on the ICN network, that money instantly flows to the artists and the label. There are no more gatekeepers, no more waiting months for a royalty check, no more middlemen taking their cut. It's direct and instantaneous.
And finally, to make this whole structure not just a cool idea, but a truly bankable global-scale asset, the entire operation is protected by a $100 million master insurance shield. This provides the foundational collateral and risk protection needed to ensure this reclaimed cultural asset is preserved for generations to come.
So, when you take a step back and look at the whole picture, the innovative funding, the ironclad legal work, the secure and instant payouts, and the automated royalties, it really makes you wonder, is this just a one-off deal for one iconic music catalog? Or could this be an entirely new blueprint for how creators everywhere can finally, truly own their work?